Are you looking for Pokemon codes? If so, please check out pdcgostore.com and use the code FTW for 5% off at checkout. What a deal. They always have sales, of course, which is great for when you're looking around and trying to snack some packs up to build that collection that you're looking for. If you do have the finances and you are able to do so, please do visit pdcgostore.com to grab yourself some codes and build that collection so you can build that deck. With that all said, though, of course, please do enjoy the video. What is up, peeps? This is For The Win TCG, and I welcome you back to another YouTube video, and today we have a wild deck. I'm telling you, it's serious business. So there are probably a few of you who remember Circuitry Parasect, but for those who don't, it was quite simply a really fun deck that generated a bit of buzz at its time, and there was a few problems with it. So I was trying my best to see if I can solve those problems with the current format, and unfortunately with Circuitry Parasect, I didn't really get anywhere. However, I believe I have found the perfect replacement for it, and boy, this is a bit mad. It is Nihiligo and Toxicroak. Very Circuitry Parasect in its nature. It's all about building up damage over time, picking them off and stuff, and there is so many benefits this deck has to offer over Circuitry Parasect, but it still holds the true nature of that deck, just with a lot more options towards the more end of the game, which is where I think one of Circuitry Parasect's biggest problem is it didn't have that power punch to finish off things as you were building up that damage over time. How are we doing that? Oh, well, we have Fireworks Bomb to our utility, being able to spread damage. Again, another issue that Circuitry Parasect had was people can just retreat out of it, and it was a big deal. So with the likes of Blacephalon's Fireworks Bomb, and this is a Psychic type, so Spell Tag, which we also have in this deck, and Shrine of Punishment, they ain't dodging no damage, bro. They're gonna be on the bench picking up damage of Shrine of Punishment if they're a GX. If not, they're gonna be chilling, and we're just gonna start picking them off with the old Spell Tags and Firework Bomb, which does really add up after a certain amount of time. And of course we have Nightcap on the 2 price turn, being able to copy your opponent's attack. If you look at the top tier decks, they are all hard-hitting Pokemon, apart from one, which I'll speak about at the end. It's a very hard deck to come up against in general, but we'll talk about that one. So Nightcap's an incredible attack, which usually gets game-winning moves, game-winning hits. So yeah, that's something Circuitry didn't have as well. Also, Buzzwole. We're not relying on Buzzwole here. However, one of the biggest, worst matchups for us in this meta, and even at the time when Circuitry Parasect was doing its thing, is Pikarom. Pikarom can circumnavigate the whole, well, Void Tentacles is going to be our main attack, believe it or not. Yeah, be circumnavigating the confusion and poison that we're putting on them by just retreating, and it just really, you know, deals with the whole concept very well. So I had to implement a counter. I originally didn't have Buzzwole in this deck, but I had to commit a counter in there because I kept coming up against Pikaroms, and although I've beaten one, I've lost to many, only because they can circumnavigate our main strategy. So again, going down to the whole 4 price thing, it's definitely avoidable with Pikarom, obviously, with the whole Tag Bolt, but being able to just charge up a Buzzwole in general. We have Beast Ring in here as well, which isn't there for the Buzzwole, but was actually there for the Blacephalon, but it's going to benefit a Buzzwole as well. Yeah, so charging up a Buzzwole and taking out a Pikarom is going to give us so much of an advantage in that matchup. I had to take it in. I just had to. I can't wait to show you this deck. It's got everything it needs to take out the top tier decks. I have smashed ADP a couple times with this. I even have a bit of footage of me taking out an ADP. It wasn't an older version of the deck, but I have taken out ADPs with this before. ADP Zacians have struggled. Reshizards have struggled against me. This deck is fire. So with all the hype, let me try and show you what it's all about. Let's get into a game and hopefully we get a good deck. Now, speaking of good decks, my elo seems to be pretty good. I've come up against 2 Pikaroms in a row in the most recent matches in testing, which is why I realized that Pikarom really is the thing we need to be worried about. Everything else we seem to deal with very, very comfortably and very well. I've come up against a variety of decks, even Baby Blacephalon. We've managed to beat that pretty comfortably. So yeah, Pikarom seems to be the crutch to this list. So I've teched, of course, to counter that. You have to be very careful when teching. You only want to use tech cards when it's absolutely necessary, because that's taking up space in your deck. Also, there's a philosophy that I've adopted, and I think a lot of people have adopted recently, is with the whole turn 1 start thing, which is why this person shouldn't be playing this card. Starting off with, putting cards into your deck that aren't going to benefit you on the first turn it has to be so important that you you put in cards that you really need if they're not going to benefit you at the start. You have to have cards that benefit you turn one, otherwise it's really game over for you before you've even started the game. And that's why I've thrown in so many beneficial cards. I have Acrobikes, Quick Balls, Mysterious Treasures in this deck, just to really get things moving at a high speed to keep up with these decks and make sure we can pull off our strategy as fast as possible, which seems to be working here. The Zacian V. Why do we have Zacian V? There's many times where I've had Void Tentacles, our opponent's been poisoned, and I don't need to attack. That's a great time for Intrepid Sword. It's fantastic. So that's why we have Zacian V in there as well, which is sweet. So we're actually going to pull off... This is a awesome setup. Unfortunately, no real supporter with us right now, but that's fine. Sure thing. We'll just take it as it is and go from there. But we have the Krogunks down, which is so important for this list. Getting that damage early in, and obviously the Nihiligo disrupting them, forcing them to flip a coin to attack or even play switches, which you're seeing here, is great. Forcing them to do this in the early game is so crucial because we kind of want damage to spread across the board a little bit with them switching and retreating and stuff, so we can really pick and choose what we want to take out in the late game with our Gusting, which is very minimal in this deck, but will be buffed in the next set, obviously with Boss's Orders. Being able to kind of pick and choose what we want with Spell Tag and Fireworks Bomb, you know, it's all going to work out great. So we want them to burn the switches in the early game so we can take advantage when it comes to, if we are going to use it. Again, it's not the whole idea, but Sledgehammer is an option. The whole Fireworks Bombs on the 3 prize and Nightcap on the 2 prize. The 4th, 3rd, and 2nd prize turns that your opponent are definitely going to reach because they, you know, these Pokemon are easy to take out. They are the big turns. They are super important turns. So yeah, right. This is a bit scary because we don't really have a follow-up to this. But we can swagger, he says confidently. Yeah, I'm not a fan of that. So let's hope we kind of get something out of this. We don't, which is kind of scary, to be fair to you. So we might have to go for the old Swaggeroonie here, which is a bit of a shame. Consistency is something I've put a lot of time and effort into this deck, which I know we're not really seeing now, which is a shame. But not having the likes of Jirachi and stuff to help us out. We do have Zacian V to help us out, but not having the likes of Jirachi is kind of a big deal, and we need to make sure we accommodate to that. But I've got, I believe, about 9 supporter cards and 4 Acrobikes for consistency. We have the Zacian V. There's a lot of consistency going into this deck, and now I'm starting to see how important that Zacian may be. In fact, it was mainly there just for the whole not being able to attack, but it seems to be crucial almost. So getting that out seems to be a big deal. Research coming at the right time. Getting rid of quite a few important cards here, but nonetheless, cards that we would rather ditch in favor of what we've got here. So by all means. All right, another Void Tentacles coming in, and we are walking into those turns that really are going to be crucial. We haven't really built that damage, which is a shame. It is a bit of a shame. But I think we should be fine. Now, the biggest issue is the deck we're playing against is not going to make our Nightcap very well, obviously. Energy Burst. I mean, to be fair, it doesn't specify fire energy, so if they have a lot of energy, we can come up with a big attack, which is great. But Victini V, not being a meta deck, but definitely a bit of a rogue deck with fire. I mean, the reason why it's not really meta in fire is you have a lot better Pokemon to work with the whole fire archetype. Victini's good, don't get me wrong, but it's not top tier in comparison to a lot of fire Pokemon. So this is a bit of a tier 2 matchup for us rather than a tier 1, which is a shame. I did want more of a tier 2. I mean, we're seeing Cinderace V, which isn't a playable card. Let's be real. Although bloody awesome looking. Let's be real. I love Cinderace. Speaking of, I'm going to be getting Pokemon soon, the actual game. So I'd love to try that out and see if I can record that. That'd be really sick. Let me know if that's something you wanted to see. But yeah, they've retreated out of it. Again, that's perfectly fine. That's within our comfort. If they just go for a pass here or something, we can just Marnie them, which is fine. Obviously, limit them a little bit. The great thing about Marnie, in comparison to something like a Judge, which obviously is better than that, or like a Cynthia, let's say, is we do get top deck draw. So we shuffle the hand to the bottom of the deck, and we draw, isn't it, I believe, 5 cards from the top, right? Yeah, which means we're seeing 5 new cards, which is something that even Cynthia can't guarantee. So that's why I think Marnie's a pretty solid card, just to note. And we even do have the Zacian here, which is great. So we are going to Marnie. Yeah, well, yeah, I don't want to get rid of these resources. those researchers are kind of important. So let's make sure we don't do that. And we do have the catcher. Let's hope we hit this. Oh, I see you. Oh, I see you there. Oh, I see you, Chief. We do have one more shrine to work with, so we can work on you. And in fact, I kind of do want to work on you. So let's see if we can bring you up. We don't, unfortunately. Acrobat, what are you going to give to us, mate? Spell tag. Oh, yeah, baby. We're dropping a Nihiligo. That's fine by me. I would like to have a... Oh, more gusting. I was going to say the Mysterious Treasure is good because I did want to have a Persephone down, ready to go, but that's fine. Ah, we can get Persephone still, but not now. If it's the case where we need a Persephone, we got the quick ball for it. So we can try and hunt for that beast ring next turn. If they do take us down, and we can, you know, spread damage, we can kind of work on that Victini, take that out. But I really want to work on the Reshizard. That's kind of a big deal. I actually do have a little bit of footage of me playing Reshizard with this deck, and we beat that one even when we fell behind quite drastically, like we are now, because Shrine just did so much dirt. So getting a Shrine is also a kind of a big deal for us. And I am playing one Dust Island for the non-GX matchups, but I'm going to be real with you. I might cut it out. Dust Island seems like a very smart card to play, right? Because if they retreat, they don't lose the poison. Great. Obviously, that's if they retreat with a switch or something. But it just doesn't seem to be that as important as Shrine, because Shrine really helps you take out the big boys. And these big boys are still running around. Pikarom, Reshizard, ADP. They're big tag team GXs, free prizes that are just running rampant right now. And even in like decks like Frostmoth, which isn't really tier 1, I would say, is still playing GX Pokemon. So, you know, GX is still a thing, and Shrine is still powerful in my opinion. So, you know, until GX has really become something not that great, you know, I'm think Shrine has to take over Dust Island here. I mean, in the next set, we do have options to work with, you know, the likes of, I forgot what it's called, but it's a stadium that obviously increases retreat cost by 2. That's a big deal. And stuff like that, which I think is cool. Okay, we're going to bench you. But Persephone doesn't seem to be that... Sorry, the Absol doesn't seem to be that critical. So I'm going to go for the old Persephone and start getting you ready, mate. So we can go for that turn as soon as this goes down. Again, Buzzwole. Whoa, okay, that was weird. Buzzwole, not a big deal. It's mainly there for the Pikarom, and it also gives us the option to use Sledgehammer for another hard-hitting attack if we so need it. But we kind of don't. And this attack can be quite devastating, especially to a Pokemon like this, which can be stuck in the active a little bit. Now, they can go for the old welder and retreat, but again, forcing them to retreat like this is wasting energy, it's wasting resources. I'm not going to complain at that, to be honest with you. And as I said, putting that damage across the board is only going to benefit this thing. Getting that other Shrine, though, that's going to help me a ton. Oh, and they flip the tails. Great stuff. This is where I Intrepid Sword. Again, all we need to do is evolve into another Toxicroak, 70 damage across there, and we Intrepid Sword. We don't need to use any other attack. We can't. So, Intrepid Sword, draw some more cards, and bang, they're taking that 70 damage across the board. They are coming into the range of spell tag territory. So even if they take me out, they're down. Take me out this turn, they're down. If they retreat, they're on the bench with considerable damage, which spell tag can deal with, and even Shrine can deal with. So that is now sitting there with damage. Of course, they can Mallow and Lana. That is something they can definitely do. But again, this thing can help deal with that. You know, there's many ways we can accommodate to the position they're in now. And now you're seeing the power of this deck. It is just, not only is it disruptive, because they have to flip to attack, it burns their resources in ways they're not planning to use them. And can devastate them in the late game. So falling behind is not really that big a deal for us. So you're really starting to see, I hope, the damage that this thing can offer. And that's what I'm so happy we get to show you it here, because it's great. And the utility that this deck has as well is amazing. So, oh, they do that. And as I said, the next set it gets better. We have Boss's Orders to gust things up if they do try and get, you know, retreat out of the way. And it's not a Guzma, which was one of the biggest issues that we had with Xerxes Parasite. They can Guzma out of their own active spot. Boss's Order is not a Guzma. Boss's Order is a gusting effect. They don't retreat with a Boss's Order. So even if they play Boss's Orders, yes, they can throw our Zacians out and stuff, which is a problem, and we have to consider that. They're not retreating, so they stay poisoned, unlike a Guzma. So even that boss's order seems to have a huge benefit to us in comparison to what, let's say, a Guzma would have had if it was around now. And that's something that, again, Xerxes Parasect struggled with a lot. So this seems to be a very, very good time for a deck like this. Now, it is something that can be teched against in the meta. I mean, if you do like a Zacian deck, something as simple... Oh, it's down. There we go. See you later, mate. Something as simple as a Cobalion GX would help, because it removes special conditions, which is what we're relying on here. There is ways to deal with special conditions, and to be fair, we have to see how that would fare. But currently, this deck is destroying everything. The current moment in time, this deck is wild, and if there's a format where your deck is forcing them to tech, your deck is good. Let's be real. Okay. Okie dokie. What do we go with here? We are literally soaring high right now. We are soaring, we are flying, and that's the only time I'm ever going to make a High School Musical reference. We don't really need to do much. It would be great to find more gusting, but I think we've used both of our catches, right? So we might have to just go for the old type null poison. We do need an energy. So what I'm going to do is I am going to recover the... We'll go for the Krogunk and the Nihiligo, because we still have that Toxicroak and the energy, and we'll hope that this Acrobite, I can go for the research. That seems a bit too wild right now, considering how much we have going on here. So let's get this ready, and we will go for Void Tentacles. Here we go. Great. Now, the deck we're playing against here doesn't seem to be that wild, that it's really showing off what this deck can do. But it does seem to have a lot of useful resources. That would be, that would go against us. This, it's not a good card right now, mate. Don't play a Lily. If anyone's playing a Lily, try your best to find other stuff. Marnie's, Researches, Cynthia's, they are all better than Lily, and there's no space for Lily, let's be real. So if you're playing a Lily, try and find Researches. I repeat, Researches, Cynthia's, and Marnie's. They seem to be the supporters people are really focusing on playing nowadays, so... yeah, Bob's your uncle. Go for them. All right, let's just Beast Ring and guarantee this Blacephalon if this thing goes down, so we don't have to worry so much. And we're going to go in with... again, we don't have to be hasty with the researches here. We have everything we need right now. Void Tentacles again. They're going to be taking the 70 damage. It's a shame we don't really have the Shrine to do its thing, but, mate, we are good. Now, this build-up damage over time is not as good as what... Xerxes Parasect had. Xerxes Parasect had the additional damage output with its attack. It had electro power, so its brute force damage at the start was a lot better than what this one can offer. I mean, Void Tentacles doesn't even do any damage. However, Xerxes Parasect just does not have the benefits that this deck has. It really doesn't. And don't get me wrong, we could do a whole Xerxes Parasect deck and, use Aurora Energy and Beast Energies and just throw in these cards, right? Biggest issue is we don't have this, and that's a really big deal. Spell Tag is so important. I believe I was playing a game against the Pikarom deck I was playing before this when I was recording. If I had Spell Tag earlier on in the game, I 110% would have won, because my Shrine was damaging their board like crazy, and a few knockouts on us, we could have Spell Tagged and taken, I believe, about 3 prizes worth of stuff. So, yeah, Spell Tag is so important in this deck, especially for people who are trying to retreat, like this guy. So we're going to come in and we're going to poke some Spell Tags onto this. And, well, not even. We can take this out. We can take this out. So I believe numbers are important here. In fact, very important. So you're definitely being taken out by Blacephalon. So I'm going to put all the damage here. And we don't even need... is this game for... I don't think it's game. I don't think that maths adds up very well. No, it doesn't. We need to hit 170 and we're doing 120. So Shrine is going to be big. Oh, they've quit. I think we might have had a game-winning turn there, which is wild. I think this deck has shown off exactly what it can do. So let's get into the list for this bad boy deck. So here is the list. It does look a bit wild. That's because we've had to accommodate for Pikarom. Such a devastating deck for us to play against. We have to tech for it. And that's something that I've done with the Beast Energies and the Aurora Energies, making Boswell very easy to do and very easy to get if we need it, and even recycle with Ordinary Rod if necessary. So that's great. Beast Ring works with that very well. This deck seems to piece together fantastically. Now, we can throw in the likes of Ultra Space to allow finding these Pokemon even better, but with 4 Mysterious Treasure, 4 Quick Ball, that's not a problem, trust me. And Shrine is so good in this deck. In fact, I'm even considering adding a third. But it's very tough. I mean, you can look at this deck. It's very tight. Absol has its place, obviously, with the likes of Jirachi, you know, forcing them to struggle a little bit and staying the active, taking some nice prizes, which I believe you did see here at the start for us. Zacian V being great when Void Tentacles is doing its thing. Spell Tag being fantastic. This is a deck where every card in here has its place and genuinely has a serious purpose. So, yeah, this deck is, in my opinion, complete. It can definitely get better next set. Pokemon Catcher, Make Way, Boss's Orders is going to come in hands down. So, yeah, do try this deck out. It's one of the most complete decks I've made in a while. It is wild and it is devastating to the top tier. Jesus, this is mad. So give it a shot and let me know how it goes. I can't wait to see you guys try it out. If there's any ideas you have, if there's any problems this deck is facing, let me know. I want to commit a lot of time to this because it is seriously rogue. And do you know how hard it has been to find rogue decks that do well in this current format? It's been stupid. Speaking of, let's speak about one of the decks that this deck really struggles against. Oranguru Control. Yeah, that deck can pretty much challenge a lot of decks. I mean, something as wild as Oranguru Control, it just doesn't belong in this format. It's deadly. Lily's Pokédolls really is the thing that makes that deck so powerful. So hopefully in the next set, it can be a deck that's not so strong. So yeah, that's the only thing I have to say about that, to be honest with you. This deck struggles greatly against it with its limited energy resources. It can just discard the energy and deal with it. There is one card you can throw in here that can kind of help, and that's Copycat Mimikyu. You can throw that in this deck quite confidently, and it allows you to copy Oranguru's attack, so you can just recover your own stuff that they've gotten rid of, so you don't deck out. And they're not going to be taking out a Copycat because they don't attack. So the odds of them taking out your Copycat are quite low, and you can just recover it anyway with Ordinary Rod. So Copycat Mimikyu can be a tech to throw in this deck. It depends how much you come up against Oranguru. But that, you know, Copycat Mimikyu is a good card. You know, you can still use Copycat on a lot of attacks that are being used. Again, Flare Strike, Brave Blade, you can copycat those. So it was a card I did have in here, but 2 energy seems to be quite clunky, believe it or not, in this deck. And not being able to Beast Ring to it like Persephone, it is a harder card to use and to pull off, but it may be necessary. So contemplate that as well, because that seems to be one way of dealing with your Oranguru issue that this deck faces against. But what do you get rid of? I don't know. If you guys find a way to manage that and deal with that, and if you have friends to test with Oranguru and seeing if you can really deal with it with this deck, it will be a pain. But it's something that if you're willing to commit to, by all means, let me know. But that seems to be the only deck this deck really has a serious issue with and can't contend against, which I'm so happy about. It's been a very long time since I've had a deck that I've been this happy and confident with, so do try it out. With that all said, of course, please do leave a like if you did enjoy. If you want to see more decks like this coming up in the future, of course, do subscribe. With that all said, I hope you're taking care of yourself, and until next time, peace.